evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of the Beloit City Council to order. Mr. Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
I show all councilors present.
Thank you. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. May we all stand at this time.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is special orders of the day and announcements. Item 3A, proclamation in observance of the 30-year anniversary of the City of Beloit Water Pollution Control Facility.
And Vice President Keys will read the proclamation, and I believe Bill Frisbee will be accepting the proclamation tonight. And Laura Williamson.
Whereas wastewater treatment plays a crucial role in our health, safety, and well-being, as well as a crucial role in protecting the environment. And whereas the City of Beloit Water Pollution Control Facility, WPCF, started receiving partial flow on November 14th, 1991. And whereas the WPCF has an excellent record of wastewater discharge permit compliance. And whereas the investment made in constructing, operating, and maintaining the WPCF has allowed for the great economic development success the city has encountered the last 30 years. And whereas all the employees, current and past, who have worked for the WPCF have had a paramount impact on the success of the WPCF. And whereas the following employees deserve special recognition for their dedicated service at the WPCF for the entire time it has been in service. John Siam, 41 years. Joe Valerius, 34 years. Tim Cunningham, 32 years. Scott Varney, 30 years. And Gary Hellman, 30 years. And whereas the investment in upgrades that are being made at the WPCF will allow the WPCF to continue to provide excellent wastewater treatment services into the future. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Beloit, Wisconsin, does hereby recognize November 14th, 2021 as the 30-year anniversary of the City of Beloit Water Pollution Control Facility and acknowledge the contributions and the dedicated service of the past and present employees. Presented this first day of November 2021, signed Clinton Anderson, City Council President.
And I just wanted to take an opportunity again to thank the current City Council for the investment that you guys approved that we're going to be bringing forward to you guys in March. We're currently doing the design work, just finishing that up. And a big thank you to all of the employees at the Water Pollution Control Facility. They are the ones that operate and maintain the plant, and they're the ones that make it a success. Thank you.
Item 4 is public hearings. Item 4A, consideration of Resolution 2021-144, approving a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through use and outdoor seating area on the property located at 635 Broad Street.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen.
Paige Hoops, doing business as Rise and Grind Coffee House, has made this application for a conditional use permit. She intends to operate a mobile coffee trailer with a drive-through window, walk-up window, and outdoor seating area. She is leasing the property from RVB Partnership, doing business as Bryden Motors. The coffee trailer will be self-contained with water and gray water tanks. And they've already applied for and received an outdoor vending permit from the clerk's office. Concerns, so this was previously used as a car display lot with three driveways. 2 of the driveways will be utilized for one-way traffic to access the drive-through from Short Street and exit onto Broad Street. There is a location map, which I think is included within the staff report for the Plan Commission, which shows the direction and the stacking spaces for the drive-through use. Concerns that were raised during the Plan Commission's public hearing on August 4th, primarily related to competitive concerns about allowing food trucks to be downtown, and zoning cannot be used to regulate competition. And we don't believe that it will set a precedent since outdoor vending is already allowed by right in this zoning district. Plan Commission reviewed this item a second time because they laid it over to get more information. And on October 6th, they voted unanimously 6-0 to recommend approval, subject to the two ordinance requirements which are included in the packet. And then also they added one condition, which was that a protective barrier, including parking blocks, be required around the seating area. Their concern was that the traveling public sometimes isn't watching where they're going or might hit the gas instead of the brake, and that there should be some protection for people sitting in the outdoor seating area. And one of the commissioners noted that parking blocks do a pretty good job of stopping cars, so they thought that they were open to having staff review what that looks like, but they wanted to make sure it incorporated parking blocks so that people were protected when they sat in the outdoor seating area. So the resolution before you tonight would, if approved, would require the business to maintain an outdoor vending permit at all times. In order to ensure adequate stacking spaces and traffic flow, the property owner's voluntary striping and signage should be completed prior to opening the coffee vending business, which I believe it is at this point. In accordance with Section 2-506 of the zoning ordinance, the applicant shall have 12 months from the date of conditional use issuance to commence use of the drive-through and outdoor seating area, or the conditional use shall lapse. And then the final condition, which was required by Plan Commission, which is that the applicant must provide a substantial protective barrier for the outdoor seating area, which includes parking blocks. The final design will be approved by staff. This is on your agenda for action tonight.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed, please come forward at this time? Yes. And please state your name and address for the record, please. State your name and address for the record.
Dennis Murphy, 1107 Harrison. And I serve in this room on the Police Fire Commission, and I know the acoustics aren't the greatest. So I'm going to use my teacher voice. And I'm not going to be brief. Good evening. I'm here to ask the City Council to review code enforcement policies and procedures as pertaining to residential junk. The owner of a White Avenue residence has been in code violation for many years. Code enforcement compliance efforts, including fines, have been ignored for years. I have been in contact with the Janesville Director of Code Enforcement to inquire about their code enforcement ordinances. She said the Janesville City Council has created municipal junk ordinances that are thorough and effective. She indicated a residential junk situation that Beloit has had for years on that White Avenue residence would have been effectively dealt with years ago. She also emailed me their code enforcement codes. I forwarded those to Councilor Keys and Anderson, and it was my intention that they share those with the entire council and city. I'll close by calling upon the Beloit City Council to enact revised and effective residential code enforcement ordinances. Strong code enforcement is essential for the Beloit community. All neighborhoods matter. Let's roll up our sleeves and work together. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Would anyone else wishing to speak in favor or opposed to item 4A please come forward at this time? Second call. Third call. Public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve this item? Motion by Preschel. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Blakely. Any discussion? Yes, Counselor Preschel.
Just this was covered in 2 extensive meetings of the Plan Commission. And the biggest concern that it came down to was the, you'll see it on page 13 in the packet, of the seating area adjacent to the building and between the building and the proposed truck's location. It was my concern, in addition to what Julie said, that there was some confusion as to parking along that area, which would, the way it looks now, there's parking going on right where their planned seating area is, and I don't know how you resolve that with the building's occupants and the building's use without some kind of permanent structure that impedes traffic effectively. So that was our proposal in the Plan Commission resolution for that third category, third reason. I would like to hear from the applicant, if they're here, I think they are, how they've resolved that, if they have yet. Just curious.
Hi, my name is Paige Hoops, and I am the co-owner of the Rise and Grind Coffee House. And we have, the trailer is currently not there, so we have not started to put anything in place yet. But once it is there, we fully plan to put the parking blocks there.
And you don't anticipate any issues with the building occupant?
No, we're
Okay.
in good relations with them.
Okay, that
Yep.
was my concern,
Yep.
as I voiced at the Plan Commission meeting.
Yes.
That
Yep.
It just didn't look like there was any awareness going on there of your future planned use and stuff, and
Yep,
and it
we've
had just
been
been
in-
painted and stuff, and I was like, this looks like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, we've been in full communication with them, and
Okay, perfect.
we're both in the same understanding.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay, that's good to know, and I just wanted to make sure that was clarified here in the public record or in the, official proceedings.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5 is public comments.
We've reached the point in the agenda where members of the public may come before the council and speak to us about issues that may come before us in the future. Council may not act on any requests, but we may refer a staff person if necessary. We ask that you refrain from any personal attacks on council or staff and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Mr. Clerk, I believe we had a written comment submitted.
Yes, we got one comment submitted through email. It states, "We have 2 large elected bodies that have responsibilities to this city and its citizens. The Beloit City Council and members of the Beloit School Board need to come together to discuss the current state of education in Beloit and other issues of concern. I think I am correct in saying that the school district is one of the city's largest employers, so a huge contribution to the city and a huge contribution to the city budget. Many decisions made by city council impact our schools, and some decisions have a financial impact. I urge both bodies to come together as soon as possible. This is not something that needs to be sanctioned by staff or the city manager. It is solely your responsibility as our elected officials to make this happen. Both governmental bodies need each other and should meet to share and work together." Dorothy Harrell, Beloit, Wisconsin.
Thank you. And I believe we also had a written speaker form as well.
Yes, we received 2 written comment forms, the first one being from Donna Langford.
Hello, my name is Donna Langford. Please excuse my voice this evening. I wanted to stand before you and introduce myself as the Executive Director for the Beloit Historical Society, and I thank you in advance for your consideration of our grant application that's on the agenda this evening. Thank you.
And before you leave, can you just give your address for the
Oh,
record
I'm
too?
sorry. I actually commute from Rockford. My address is 2923 Garfield Drive in Rockford.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second speaker is Dan Schoof.
Good evening, Dan Schoof, 1955 Pebble Drive, Beloit, Wisconsin. Appreciate the green room to let us wait in before the just people. We're just here from Beloit College tonight to first of all thank staff for their help in the application before you tonight for the Neighborhood Investment Grant. This is an incredible opportunity made possible through the federal dollars, through the state of Wisconsin, to bring 3 really important grants to the city of Beloit if we're all successful. And we'll be here to answer any questions when that comes to your part of the agenda, but we're just here to say thank you to staff and that we're available here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. You did not have to submit a public comment form to speak, so would anyone else who wished to speak tonight please come forward at this time? Second call. Third call. Public comment is now closed.
Item 6 is consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Would any council member want anything removed from the consent agenda?
I would like 6C removed from the consent agenda.
6C has been removed from the consent agenda. Would any other council member like anything else removed from the consent agenda? If not, the consent agenda consists of item 6A, 6B, 6D, and 6E. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Duncan.
Second.
Second by Forbeck. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Council President, we did have a couple of speakers actually in the other room that would like to speak. If we could please back up and allow them to speak, please.
Yes, absolutely.
State my name and address. Tamika Woodson Pike. Tamika Woodson Pike at 1947 Grant Street. And we have a complaint about 1950 Grant Street. As a neighborhood, we do. What I wrote, how do we feel safe about parking on the street on side of the road when they're moving trailers in and out, loading trucks, unloading trucks in the middle of the street, leaving these at times unattended, all the while when traffic comes through and blocks our driveways and others' driveways. They've turned our street into a construction zone, and we are made to feel as though we don't exist or have rights to our own properties. Having to ask to leave or enter our driveway isn't a way to live. Sometimes they move, other times they don't. I've complained about our driveway being blocked, and the response was, "What more do you want me to do?" all the while rolling of the eyes. They keep doing it, and nothing gets through to them to stop the behavior. How is it that his line of work is more important than the neighborhood? How is it okay for me to worry if my driveway is blocked? We have a son who has bad allergies, and the worry I cannot get out of my driveway to get him medical care. What about the hazard of them dropping roofing nails and we're having to repair our tires or replace by out-of-pocket or insurance claims that drive our premiums up, which we have a roofing nail in our tire right now? What about the countless times of having 1 to 3 trailers with trash, debris, etc., uncovered or poorly covered, and the stuff gets into our yard, the street? They've been ticketed from the city to the owner of the house. They've had plenty of citations for the junk in the yard for days and weeks. They live by what they can get away with, and the other agencies have told us that as well. The appearance of their house brings our property values down. We never see in-state or plates, we never see in-state or place at all with any vehicle and trailers that are double axle and commercial trailers. And the excuses of a pandemic is tiring because we purchased a vehicle in 2020 and we have our license plates. This leads us to believe that this isn't a legit business and likely doesn't have contractor liability insurance on anything. Abandoned vehicles sit on side of the road on flats with no plates, and last, we know that that's illegal, and they're not ticketed nor moved anymore. We dread winter because all the vehicles in our street cannot get properly plowed by the city, and they were ticketed several times last year. Now they have more vehicles, 10 to 11 vehicles. What now? How do we feel safe letting our children outside in the front when we have drug dealings, which other neighbors have seen, and sitting in their cars drinking, partying, smoking marijuana outside? We all smell it and cannot have our doors or windows open as we please. How do we feel safe with our mail packages on our private property and it gets rummaged through by the tenants in the live-ins from the address? How do we feel safe at night? How do we sleep at night with multiple vehicles coming and going that have mechanical problems such as no mufflers or modified vehicles that wake us up in our 1-year-old and 4-year-old? How do we secure our property when tenants come into our yard and urinate, throw trash into our yards and others' yards? These people have no respect for our neighborhood and have become a nuisance. We've contacted the police and it doesn't seem like anything is being done. We've contacted the city numerous times, and that's what brings us here today.
Tamika, so I,
Just have a question.
Yeah.
What was the address? I couldn't quite make it out when you said it.
1950 Grant.
1950? Okay, thank you.
what we can do is, we'll have you go over to the city manager. She'll take down all of your contact information, and then we'll have her reach out to you directly and start trying to get this resolved for you. So,
Like for this neighbor to speak?
I live right around the corner on the
yes, if you,
cul-de-sac.
sure,
Mary
yes.
Pittner, and I live at 2001 Sunrise Court, and there have been, I can test that there are cars. I also have security cameras from that corner of that house, and they go into our cul-de-sac doing donuts and then drive out of it. And they've done it to the other cul-de-sac. It, like she said, it's constant noises. I have replaced 3 tires now due to roofing nails.
He's a contractor, I guess he's a roofer. He has multiple trailers. At times, he's been ticketed for flat tires and just being out in the street. And sometimes they got him on that. But it's like we worked with the police, and for a while the drug dealing was really bad. And we really got on the police department to really do something, just have a vehicle sit there or be visible so that we don't want all this traffic in and out, 2 minutes, 1 minute, whatever it is, but I don't feel safe for my kids. And the neighborhood it's not the neighborhood that I know, all because of this tenant that moved in and has disrupted our whole way of life in this neighborhood. And the police have tried, they've really worked with us for a while, having them do their paperwork or whatever they have and just sit there. And it died down, believe me. The traffic totally died down once they were there. But they can't do this all the time. And they've stopped doing that. But what they decided to do was all hours of the day and night, they'll go to do a drive delivery. Instead of coming to them, they'll go to you. that type of scenario. So it's all through the night. They have bad cars that are loud, and, wakes everybody up. The roofer, the contractor, he has total disregard to the traffic in the neighborhood. He's multiple times he's blocked the intersection because they're around the corner. Sometimes they're unloading and loading. It really disrupts the whole flow in that neighborhood. And there's not really a whole lot that we can do, and we're just trying to reach out to city council, see if there's a way, if there's certain guidelines that they have to adhere to. Because right now I just don't see it's bringing our neighborhood down, and I just don't see any way around it but ask for help. And that's why we're here.
Yep, like I said, I really appreciate you all coming out. So if you want to go to the city manager over there, she'll take your contact information and she will reach out to you and see where we can go from here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor
President,
Levy.
if we could, that once they investigated, if the city manager or someone could just shoot us all an email, a kind of a follow-up to let us know.
Yep.
Let us know what's going on.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Timmy.
Okay, thank you. With that, I believe we are on item 6C.
Item 6C, consideration of Resolution 2021-158, authorizing the city manager to apply for the State Neighborhood Investment Fund Program grant for the Beloit Historical Society Lincoln Center Rehabilitation Project.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen is here to present.
So as part of, the state's ARPA dollars, they created the Neighborhood Investment Fund Program, which provides grants to local and tribal governments for purpose of making significant investments with long-term benefits to help neighborhoods recover from negative effects of the COVID pandemic, with a particular emphasis on addressing the needs of residents living in communities disproportionately impacted by the pandemic and qualified census tracts, which are census tracts 15, 16, 17, 18, and 23. So one of the requests we received, the city as a whole can apply for up to $15 million, so between $1 million and $15 million. This request is for $2.2 million, and it's from the Beloit Historical Society. They would like to renovate the Lincoln Center building, parking lot, and grounds. There's a letter attached with that request. This building was originally developed in 1989 with the conversion of the former Lincoln Junior High building to serve as the Beloit Historical Society headquarters, administration, collection, storage, display and exhibit space, a community room and kitchen for events. The conversion included demolition of a 3-story school building and minor renovation of the former cafeteria and kitchen, boys' gym, classrooms, offices, and orchestra room. The scope of work includes the replacement of the roof, related components and windows, tuck pointing of exterior walls, updates and replacement of HVAC, plumbing, sanitary, drainage, water systems, electrical system, commercial kitchen fixtures and facilities, and replacement and update to the worn and outdated interior services. And to improve handicapped accessibility, the project would include replacing and modifying the interior and exterior doors, bathrooms, crumbling exterior parking lot, and public and society sidewalks. And this also serves as a polling place, so it's important, not just important for people visiting the Historical Society, but also the voting public. Applications, I think, are now due the 11th because the state gave us another week, yay. And the awards are expected to be between 1 and 15 million for each eligible applicant, which is the city as a whole is the applicant. Grants are expected to be awarded in December. Projects must be complete by the end of 2024. And the Beloit Historical Society is a not-for-profit, serves as a repository of local memory for Beloit, provides educational programming and exhibits about Beloit's history, serves as a public polling place during elections, and is utilized by the city for public meetings free of charge. This is on your agenda for action to give the city manager permission to apply for this project. And at this point, what they're projecting, I think they're still finalizing numbers. It's at about $2.2 million in NIF funds. And as you know, the Historical Society is here if you have any questions for them.
Thank you. Before we have any questions or comments, can I get a motion to approve?
I so move. I'll second.
Motion by Blakely, second by Levy. Any
Aye.
discussion?
I just have one question, Julie. With that, I saw in there was like, was it 5 census tract areas that this particular business is going to be serving?
No,
Or-
there are 5 census tracts that are eligible. There are 5 qualified census tracts, so 15, 16, 17, 18, and 23. This is in census tract 16, but is the polling place for census tract 17, right? And so the society serves the whole community,
Yeah, good.
but it's about where it's located, and it's serving, how it's serving the neighborhood and the resident population is, it serves as a public meeting space. It's a location we've done for neighborhood cleanups. It's a polling place, and so it's really serves the neighborhood, but it also serves the community as the community's repository for history, Beloit's history.
And I think it's also positive places on the west side of town. I just think I'd like to hear a little bit more about the Beloit Historical Society, and I'm so glad that the new director, are you the new director? That she's here tonight. So I'm glad to see
Questions
that.
for her? Did you want her to come up?
No,
Okay.
I'll pay a visit.
Okay,
So,
sounds good.
Thank you for
Regina.
being here. Appreciate it.
Any further discussion?
No, but I'm really glad to see that they're making efforts to repair and do what they can, and hopefully this goes through, because every time I'm there, I want to go get my wheelbarrow and my shovel and clean up the
Well,
chunks
and
of debris in the
think-
parking
and
lot.
Mark, I think what happens with, all 3 of these projects is there's not always a funding source for these projects.
Mm-hmm.
So this grant program, people got excited about,
Yep.
because they are projects that they can do that they otherwise would not be able to
Yeah,
do.
yep.
So I think everybody was really excited that this grant program was opened up and that the ARPA funds was able to provide us an opportunity to maybe get 3 projects complete. That would be wonderful,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
And this is high visibility, high thing. That's been one of the things that I wanted to see that we use those funds for. And so we are the conduit, the applicant. This is on behalf of or somebody.
We
type
are
thing?
ultimately responsible for the funds, and what we will do is we will be drafting, I say we, but we'll be working with the city attorney's office to put together some memorandum of understanding, which will lay out, we're going to basically put the grant requirements on them, but we will ultimately be responsible for any reporting that has to be done to the state. If anybody who gets awarded funding, will have an obligation to provide that to us, just like we do for our Cdbg funding and our home funding. But I think we're looking at it as an opportunity to help the community, to bring some needed money into some of our
Yeah.
institutions.
That wouldn't
uses.
normally be possible. Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
And just for clarification, Julie, just for the public, these are not the 15.2 million ARPA dollars. This is a separate, this is through that ARPA fund, but it's a separate pot of money.
This is the state's ARPA funds, so they set aside $200 million for the NIF grant program. So there's $200 million available for all local and tribal governments in the state. And the funds were announced in late September with a due date of early November. So it's a very quick turnaround. And the project had to be shovel-ready. And so these entities were really, had projects in the works, had projects they were thinking of. And so they were ready to go.
And this project was no cost to the city, so just
No cost to the city,
so I just want the public to be aware of that. Okay, thank you.
City Manager Luther?
Yes, just to clarify and support what Julie just said, these funds are in addition to the ARPA dollars that the city is receiving directly, and these funds are available through the city in a bit of a pass-through format, if you will. The dollars would not, they would flow through the city, but they would go to the third party as indicated on these applications. So it is additional funding to support great projects in Beloit is the bottom line.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 7, licenses. There are none. Item 8 is ordinances. Item 8A, consideration of ordinance number 3729 to repeal and recreate sections 1.13 and 1.14 sub 1 and sub 2 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to city electoral ward boundaries and polling places. This is second reading.
Eric Miller is presenting this. Actually, no, well, second reading, we'll forego that, I'm sorry. So with that, do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Motion by Forbeck, second by Duncan. Any discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 8B, consideration of ordinance number 3697 to amend sections 11.23 sub 3 and 11.23 sub 6 sub A of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to driveway permits and driveway widths. This is second reading.
We'll forego the presentation on this one because it's second reading. So do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Preschel, second by Forbeck. Any discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 9, appointments. There are none. Item 10, counselor activities and upcoming events.
Start with Vice President Keys.
Thank you, President Anderson. I'll start with counselor activities. This past weekend, I believe it was 2 weekends ago, my daughter and I had attended Pumpkins in the Park and had a lot of fun dressing up and participating in a Halloween-themed scavenger hunt. So thank you to all the city staff who braved the chilly temperatures and the constant drizzle to organize and roll out that very fun family event. And then this past weekend, my family and I attended the Beloit Farmers Market. It was the last ones of the season, and it sure was a lot of fun. We dressed up as so were a lot of other families and kiddos, and I just want to say thank you to the Downtown Beloit Association, as well as the vendors and the shops for providing a fun and safe place to celebrate Halloween and trick-or-treat. And I do believe that the indoor winter market will start next Saturday. As a couple announcements that I would like to share, that today is the first day of Native American Heritage Month. And I just want to read the land acknowledgement from Beloit College. So Beloit College and the City of Beloit are located on the ancestral territory of Indigenous peoples, and we respectfully acknowledge the Potawatomi, Peoria, Miami, Meskwaki, and Ho-Chunk people who have stewarded this land. We are settlers on this land, and we recognize that colonialism is an ongoing process that must be disrupted. Museums, and in particular anthropology museums, are complicit in constructing and perpetrating inequalities, erasures, injustices, dispossession, and misrepresentation that continues to oppress and marginalize Indigenous peoples. And I just encourage everyone to continue to educate themselves as much as possible throughout this month. And my final announcement that I want to share is that the COP, the COP26 meeting is occurring. It's on the global stage, and they're discussing essentially the planetary future with respect to the climate crisis. And this is a broad scope global issue, that action from the global to national to state to local and to individual level is needed. And so I just want to share the words of infamous scientist Jane Goodall: to see globally but act individually, and to encourage everyone to just reflect on how we can act to be part of the solution that this environment and this planet needs. So thank you. That ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is certainly a lot going on in the city of Beloit. Recently, I got to attend a performance, the first one here in Beloit for a long time, by the Beloit Janesville Symphony Orchestra at the Castle, directed by Dr. Rob Tomorrow. We're very lucky to have them and him as as their director. Also, I went to the Oakwood Cemetery Historical Walking Tour, which was co-sponsored by the City of Beloit Parks and Recreation Division, along with Beloit Historical Society. And our two leaders, very well-informed leaders, were John Kalkertz and John Sabaka. So I want to thank you both. There are a couple things coming up that I'd like you to keep in mind. BIF year-round, the Beloit International Film Festival, doesn't happen only in February in our city. They're having weekly showings of films at the downtown Beloit Association offices. And there's one coming up this Wednesday evening. So take a look at the BIF website or the DBA website to get more details. Also keep your eye on Beloit Public Library because they have a lot of family-friendly and free events coming up. And I have bragging rights because I won a prize for funniest costume at the Yellow Brick Road's recent fundraising event. Thank you so much.
Counselor Duncan?
Thank you, President Anderson. First, I want to say that I had a chance to get my booster vaccine at Beloit Health System, so I encourage residents to please get vaccinated. And then also, I attended a board meeting to discuss affordable housing for a couple days last week. And then I also want to mention that when I returned, I was very saddened to hear about the passing of my friend Tim McKern. And many of our dear friends know him, Tim. So Tim was a gentle giant, and not because of his stature, but for the person he was and for all the good he did for the city of Beloit and others. More importantly, for the life that he lived. Tim will be missed, but his legacy will live on in our community. So my condolences go out to his wife, Debbie, and to the McKern family during this very difficult time. So let's keep them all in our hearts and in our prayers. And in closing, a bit of good news. I would just like to say a very happy birthday to Councilor Mark Prushel. It's not today, but it's tomorrow. So we won't tell how young he is. So happy birthday, Mark. I'm doing what you do, so I'm calling you out. So happy birthday.
I guess we'll
Ends my council report for this evening.
Well, I guess we'll pass it to the early birthday boy, Mark Prushel.
Yes, thank you, Regina, I think. I too am getting my COVID booster tomorrow on my birthday because it's been 8 months and it's finally available. And I recommend everybody get vaccinated that can get vaccinated, and no excuses. It's better for you, your family, and your community. So do that part for you. I did visit the Big Hill Park again this weekend and took a few pictures that didn't turn out very well. But anyway, wanted to let Laura know that that fence looks great. It's going to be a huge attraction to photographers just because it makes it's perfect for posing. The lines, the nice leading lines we call them, and it's going to make for a great place down there. I think it's still a work in progress. It looks like there's some things you gotta finish up still up there, but it's for the most part the fence is done, the path is paved, and it's pretty cool. And beyond that, I think Brittany already mentioned that the farmers market, winter indoor farmers market starts this week. So that's about all I have for now. Thank you. Oh, and welcome to our new clerk treasurer. And you picked a great time to start because things are really going to get popping around here for the clerk's office.
We're trying to keep her around, Mark, so don't say that. Counselor Forback?
Well, I just want to mention, also, I was at the farmer's market, and as a person who... Thank you. Good Lord. Thank you. As a person who used to have to do this for a living, I want to comment on pardon me, the excellence that I saw happening down there on Saturday. They had a place where the kids could pop up and parents could take a picture with the kids, you know, putting their head by the cardboard, by the Halloween scene. They'd also had a wonderful farmer donate lots and lots of pumpkins, which people got free, and I think it took about an hour and a half for the whole truckload to be given away. Also, again, that little extra, there was entertainment when I was there for the kids, and there were just tons of kids at First National Bank Park there, just having a ball with the guy that was real good about leading them in songs and chants and things. So we've got to be proud, I think, of staff who just continue in a myriad of ways to bring excellence to the citizens of Beloit. And thanks, Shauna. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. On to my report, I just wanted to congratulate Deputy Chief Joe Murray and Acting Lieutenant Phil Ferreira on being recognized as First Responders of the Year. Deputy Chief Murray was nominated by Representative Spreitzer, and Acting Lieutenant Ferreira was nominated by Representative Loudenbeck, so thank you for them being recognized. It's great to see. As it's been mentioned several times, the last outdoor market ended, but that means the winter farmers market starts up in the not-so-new DBA office, and just in case nobody knows where that is at, it's at 557 East Grand Avenue. It's really great to see them have a nice home, and it's very big, and it's amazing to see what they can do with that office. Went to Flick or Treat at the ABC Supply Stadium, and that was a lot of fun. As one of the few childless people that was there, it was still enjoyable. A lot of the kids were having a lot of fun running on the baseball field and a lot of activities, so it's great to see that stadium being used for more than baseball. The last thing I will share is that the Beloit Memorial High School Future Business Leaders of America are presenting 2 workshops on financial literacy. It will be on Thursdays. It'll be November 4th and November 11th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Beloit Public Library. They will be talking about building and rescuing your credit, financing cars, investing for your future, and discovering multiple resources. Another great thing that they're doing here is they will be providing free childcare and box dinners for their presentation. So that is an awesome benefit for a lot of people in the community. So shout out to them for doing that. It's going to be a good thing. And, financial literacy is so important, right, Eric Miller? Yeah. Yes, thumbs up from him. And that'll end my report.
Next item is item 11, City Manager's presentation. There is none. Item 12, reports from boards and city officers. Item 12A, consideration of Resolution 2021-152, approving the operating budgets, appropriating funds, and levying property taxes necessary for the operation and administration of the City of Beloit for the year 2022, including the 2022 capital improvement budget, the Beloit Public Library budget, and further authorizing the city clerk treasurer to allocate the city property tax along with the apportionments certified for other jurisdictions upon the current tax roll of the city.
And Eric Miller will come on up and present.
Good evening. So we began the budget process about 6-7 months ago in April when we first started the CIP budget. And since then, we've met with department and division heads throughout the summer to go through individual line items throughout the budget. And we presented to you a balanced budget on October 4th of 2021. We then had a workshop at the Beloit Public Library on October 11th. We then came back here on October 18th for a public hearing. And now we're here tonight for your consideration for the adoption of the 2022 operating budget.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
I'll
Motion
second.
by Warbeck, second by Duncan. Any discussion?
Just wanted to, I want to say, you didn't find any pennies to shave off of that levy rate, because it's not in the packet. It's still at that, I can't remember now, 12.
It is at $12.78, which is 2 cents less
Than
than
it
what it
was in our
was
budget.
when it was proposed on October 4th.
So you shaved a couple pennies out of there. And next year, when we're sitting here doing the same thing again, well, I probably won't be here, but somebody will be taking credit for a great big improvement in our budget levying structure, thanks to next year's plans for retiring TIFs and realizing equalized value. So it's all those details that we've discussed previous. I don't want anybody to think we didn't discuss this stuff and we don't understand it, because we do. I just want to make that clear, and this night's motion to pass the budget, that's still there in the foremost of our minds, and I want to make sure I take as much credit for next year as I can right now. So that's why I'm talking. And I just love what you do there, Eric, and you've done a hell of a job, and it's made it easier for everybody in going through these budget cycles. And I can't imagine what this would have been like back in the day when we had voluminous paper and no digital stuff. And anyway, so thank you very much for that, and thank you for letting me speak my mind. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
City Manager Luther.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank staff for all of the work that goes into presenting the proposed budget. Clearly, Eric Miller is the lead of that process, but our entire staff is engaged. Our department heads and division heads are very involved, and Mr. Miller makes it look a lot easier than it actually is. Appreciate so much the council reading into all of the detail and asking excellent questions throughout the process and in our workshop. And I just wanted to extend my appreciation again, particularly to staff and the work that they've done in presenting this balanced budget that continues to improve the city's fiscal health in the midst of really significant challenges. So thanks to all of them. I know you have yet to vote, and of course, we're happy to answer any questions. At this point, because we've had it before you so many times and so many iterations, I don't want to be presumptive, but I do want to extend heartfelt gratitude towards all of the employees who work very hard on this document that guides the work that we do over the course of the next year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilor Blakely.
I would echo the city manager's words and those of Mr. Preschel to thank Eric Miller and city staff for your thoroughness and your ability to take complicated matters and bring them into the scope of intelligent but not necessarily trained in finance minds. I find myself bragging about Beloit's positive financial situation to my family who lives in different parts of the country. So you and your work and our budget and the city are known across the country, from Washington, D.C. to North Carolina to Colorado. Thanks again.
It's great. Thank you.
Councilor Levy.
I told Eric I had about 50 pages of questions for him tonight. So, but no, seriously, Mark, you spoke about the paper before the electronic.
Yeah, you go back that far, don't you?
Well, it all depends on how you say that, Mark. I'm not old. I mean, it was just a few years ago. But seriously, there was a time when we do the workshops now that take half a day or quarter of a day, that we spent 2 hours in workshop going line by line for the budget. So to see how far we've come along, to be able to go through it, asking questions, and still get a great understanding is a huge accomplishment to Eric and the entire staff and entire city staff that puts that beast together. But yeah, Mark, to your point there, I mean, it used to be a 2-day process, starting at 9 in the morning until at least 3 or 4 in the afternoon on both days, just going line by line. So kudos to the entire city staff for simplifying the project and making it sure that it's understanding and being able to answer our questions. I greatly appreciate the fact that they all come prepared. When you ask them a question, it's not, we'll get back to you in 2 days. It's, we got the answer right here. So that definitely helps move the process along. But we also have to thank the community for letting us know what they think is important for the city as well. And then we as councilors try to work towards that and help them understand that they can't get everything they want in the budget. But I think with the information that we receive from city staff, it helps us make that transition to that understanding for the general public a lot better. So kudos to everyone that was involved. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is item 12B, consideration of resolution 2021-128, authorizing an update to the schedule of fees, charges, and rates for the city of Beloit.
Eric Miller, I believe, is getting his steps in today.
Hello again. So each year we take a look at our fee schedules, and as part of the budget process, we evaluate all of the programs and activities that are provided and all the amenities that are provided throughout the city, and we make necessary adjustments in order to help offset costs related to those projects and activities. So before you tonight is the schedule of fees that we have to get approved by City Council in order to implement those fees. And we put that into a summary document in the packet and highlighted the areas in which were changed from this year to next year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Motion by Levy, second by Keys. Any discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is item 12C, consideration of resolution 2021-156, approving the 2022 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan and Budget.
And before we move to this item, I will be recusing. I serve on a board of a nonprofit, so I'll be passing it off to Vice President Keys.
Thank you, President Anderson. And we will have Community Development Director Julie Christensen provide the report. We'll wait till, sorry.
So the Department of Housing and Urban Development requires each CDBG formula grantee, of which we're one, to submit a consolidated plan every 5 years and an annual action plan every year. Both plans include specific objectives for housing, homelessness, public housing, and community development, and includes information on the CDBG process, affordable housing, and special needs population. Our last consolidated plan was approved in 2020. So what is before you tonight is this plan, which is the 2022 Annual Action Plan, which outlines how we're going to allocate our CDBG funds over the next year. The process for preparing the budget is kind of lengthy and begins back in June, where CDA recommends our local funding priorities. Then it comes to council to approve the funding priorities. Then staff makes applications available to agencies. Staff monitors last year's recipients. CDA hears from all of the applicants, which Kevin and Nancy can attest to is a long evening, but an interesting evening when we hear about all the agencies and what they're doing in the community. And then a public hearing, CDA makes their recommendation. A public hearing is held by City Council, which you did at your last meeting, and then tonight is the night for consideration of the plan and budget. Included in your packet is the budget, which includes a green column, which shows the CDA recommendation. Also included in your packet is a summary of all the applications. So attachment C are the application summaries. And then if I could use my fingers, I could get through the next. Then Nancy and Kevin specifically asked that we show you what agencies received last year and what they applied for this year. So that next attachment gives you that information. Attachment E shows you your NARSA objectives, because each applicant, that's one of the things that one of the funding priorities is the NARSA objectives. And then finally, you've got the eligible CDBG projects. So a lot of information in the packet that staff has put together, but hopefully it gives you a complete picture of our CDBG funds. A public hearing was held during your last meeting, And one comment was received from Dorothy Harold during the public hearing. And we wanted to acknowledge that comment and kind of give you an update. And we concur that homelessness is a big problem in Beloit. But through our CDBG budget, we are doing two different pieces, which is one, recommending funding for homeless agencies, and two, providing funding to agencies to stop people from becoming homeless. So like your rent assistance and utility assistance. So Beloit Meals on Wheels, ECHO's eviction prevention, Family Promise of Greater Beloit, Family Services Defy program, which is the domestic violence, Health Net for primary medical and dental care, Project 1649, Salvation Army, Community Actions Resources Navigator, Family Services Community Social Worker, and ECHO's rental and utility assistance. And then she also talked about the need for youth programs, which I think she was talking about some of the ARPA funding, but also pointing out that Robin House, State Line Boys and Girls Club, Community Actions Merrill Center, and Community Actions Fresh Start also provide youth services. So, I mean, we are meeting a lot of those needs that Dorothy Harrell commented at the next meeting. The CDBG grant award is estimated to be $640,000 with program income of approximately $220,000 and then $5,000 in prior year funds. The public service cap is $132,150. We didn't fund quite to that level in order to provide some funding in our NARSA neighborhoods, and also so that we could provide some economic development programming. And this is on your agenda for action. And before I'm done, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Ashley Rosenbaum and Terry Downing for their hard work in developing this budget and plan. This takes a lot of work. And includes, providing all that draft information to you guys to help you make good decisions. And this year they also coordinated new software called Neighborly Software, which allowed us to do online applications, which made it very easy to upload them into Granicus so that they were available to the public. And I think they make this process look seamless, but it takes a lot of work, and I just wanted to acknowledge the two of them. But this is on your agenda for action tonight.
Thank you, Julie. Can I have a motion?
I'll second.
Counselor Levy with the motion and Counselor Forbeck with the second. Do we have any discussion?
Quick question, not a question, but a comment. I would like to also echo Julie's comments for Ashley and Terry and even Julie, because as Nancy would know, we go back to the paper looking at all the applications, and it's about this thick. And then the night, it's a tough job because you have so much money and you have everybody coming forward to explain to you why they need as much as they can get out of this little pot. So it is an interesting but exciting work as well. But as Julie said, Terry explains the process to us every year, because each year when you get new members on, you got to bring them up to speed. And usually when they get on, it's almost time to start this process. And she explains it to you to where when you walk out of the room, even though it's your first time, you say, I got it. The interesting thing about Ashley is she's the quiet type, sits in the back, but you can ask a question, and before you know it, she's up with the answer, and then she goes back and sit back. So she's very knowledgeable. So I just believe it's very important that when we see staff, and I keep saying the city staff because we have an outstanding city staff in all departments, that their professionalism and their knowledge of what they do makes our job that much easier. So I want to also congratulate them, and then also the colleagues on the CDA team for giving up their time to make sure to help make these recommendations. And it's not always an easy recommendation. There's a lot of discussion because we all come to the table with what's important kind of for us, and we kind of hash it out. So kudos to everybody involved.
And I just have a comment. Kudos also to all these fabulous organizations whose very core, that what they're about is to help our citizens. I mean, it is a long night and it is exhausting, but I'll tell you, you leave that meeting just going, you want to tell the world, golly, look at all the people who are trying to help people who need help. So it's altogether a fabulous fabulous thing, and I'm very proud that I've been able to serve on the.
And
on the
Firehouse
board.
Subs was this year, which everybody was so excited.
Right, exactly. So, that's it.
Thank you. Counselor Duncan?
I just want to echo my colleague's sentiment, just to say thank you, Julie, for your leadership. Thank you to Terry and to Ashley, and also the CDA and committee and all the public that came out to give comment and to let us know some of those issues that they're faced with, like homelessness and also jobs. And so in that, with the navigator on the east and west side, which is going to help with some of those things. I mean, those were it's just wonderful. I was happy to see that. But I do have one question, Julie, and I think this is something that I saw done before in the past, and I'm sure Sarah's working on this. Will there be a link for the community agency, to get to the community agencies that are funded for residents?
I guess I'm not sure what I mean,
will there be a link about their services? Because we get so
individual agencies market their programs. So, I mean, I know that they work together, and the navigators are aware of all the other programs and what received funding and what has funding, because we're not the only, the city funds them, but they get funding from other sources as well. And so I think that they themselves market their programs. We do have information provided on our website on all the programs that are funded.
Okay.
But I don't think that's their primary source for that kind of information.
I think,
There's a homeless intervention task force. There's a lot of entities that work together. There's this new group whose name is like BATH. It seems like there's another letter in there that's together, that's working cooperatively. So I think the agencies themselves do a fantastic job of working together, trying to refer people back and forth, know each other's programs well. And so I think they do a good job of working together. And the navigators are essential because a lot of times people don't know what they need to do. And so I think we've got a very good group of agencies in place who work well together.
And as you said, we'll probably have those listed on our site, the names of those agencies. Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? Counselor
I
Gresham?
think what she was talking about is a quick link on that we can lose off of the BeloitWI.gov site under CBDG stuff, where here's the funded agencies. And
Yeah, we can do that. We can put the
that's
approved
missing
we
from
can
the
put the
page, yeah.
approved budget on there.
Yeah.
It just doesn't always provide all the information somebody needs
No,
if they're
it's
looking
just
for services.
just a quick
Yeah.
one-stop reference.
We can do that.
Is the handy thing about it, especially for, people like us in our roles.
Yeah, Terry
counselors.
can put the approved budget on the website.
Yeah, I did notice, and I got it off the screen now. I noticed that there's there's one new agency funded, or that was not funded last year, Fresh Start?
Yeah,
That's a
Fresh
new
Start
one?
Fresh Start has been in the community. The state usually funded them, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the state opted not to fund Beloit's program this year, and so they needed some additional resources.
Yeah, I see they were funded, and that's a good thing to have, to be able to do that. But I noticed the funding is flat compared to last year, and I know we got additional funding last year and probably the year before and the year before that. That comes down in the middle of the year. Sometimes you're estimating funds availability because of
We are estimating the funding. This year, during COVID, there were 3 extra pots of funding.
Mm-hmm.
So Ashley and Terry actually handled not just your usual allocation, but CV1, CV2, and CV3.
Yeah, I remember there being a secondary one in the year I
But
was there too.
We are estimating $640,000. There could be more money than that. There could be less money than that. But we are, and that may come to you if it reaches a certain threshold.
During the course.
And then in times where we've had projects that haven't moved forward, we've brought those forward to you at a different time. But I don't, at this point, anticipate we'll have that happening again, because right now our agencies are spending the funds down.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know when it does come to us in the middle of the year, more funds available type of thing, it's usually split equally among whatever we funded for that year. So that's how
Yeah,
we
if we
usually
get
handle
extra
that.
money, if
Yeah,
the
I
funds
just
come
noticed
through with
those
the bigger pot.
two things there, and of course, when when you have a new agency to fund, that causes other agencies to lose something because it's coming out of the same unmoving budget. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And thank you very much. It's a really hard process. I did it 1 year, and it was a learning experience, a valuable one. But yeah, Kevin, Nancy, you guys keep on that project for you, okay? Good work. Good work.
Do we have any additional discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
There it is.
The next item is item 12D, consideration of Resolution 2021-157, approving the 2022 Home Investment Partnership Program budget.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen.
As you may recall, the city is a member of the Rock County Home Consortium, which allows the county to get regular funding through the home program. Our share of the pot each year is 28% of the project funds and plus funds for administrative activities. And also often, because 15% of it goes to a CHOTO, sometimes we're able to get additional money through that process. In 2022, we're estimating that our share will be $190,000. The administrative share would be $19,000. We also are planning to use about $77,665 in prior year funds, as well as $195,000 in program income. We intended to spend down more home funds in 2021. We're having a difficult time getting contractors to bid due to the up and down costs of construction materials. But we do have several projects which will be ready to go in 2021 and 2022, and we have some nonprofit partners who have agreed to kind of step up and take some of those projects and run with them. So I think we'll be in a good place for end of this year into next year. CDA reviewed the home budget and recommend that we use the dollars for owner-occupied rehab loans citywide and/or acquisition rehab and new construction projects in our NARSA neighborhoods. A map of those two areas is attached. They specifically proposed using up to $100,000 for owner-occupied rehab loans. There's $75,000 already awarded to NeighborWorks for home buyer assistance, which remains. That will carry over into 2022, and then the remaining balance would go towards acquisition rehab or new construction activities. As I mentioned earlier, there's 15% allocated, or I think it's 16% to CHOTO, for CHOTO projects. We are splitting the CHOTO share between Beloit and Janesville, so that would be 53,906. And our plan is to then fund 2 separate projects with WPHD for 2 new construction, using our funds to make up the balance, which is about $160,000 in home funds. So that will allow us to do 2 projects, and all of that is included in the proposed 2022 home budget, which is on your agenda for action tonight.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Preschel, second by Forbeck. Any discussion? Yes, Vice President Keys.
Just a question for Julie. For individuals that are looking, or residents that may be interested in pursuing some of these funds, as in like the owner-occupied rehab loan, where do you recommend that they go to apply?
They should start with Christy McDonald. So she is the financial specialist, construction financial specialist. She handles both our Cdbg, all of our housing rehab programs. So there is funding available for investors, for landlords, and for residents. So there's home specifically, we target it for owner occupied just because there's a lot of extra rules. And it's just very difficult with the landlord loans, but we have Cdbg funds which can be used for landlord loans and homeowner loans. But Christy McDonald, and her number is, do you know? Okay, we're guessing. Christy McDonald, if you call 6700, Vicki can refer them to Christy. But she will lead them through the process, help them with an application, and we have some ability to do some over-income rate in our neighborhoods. So I would suggest anybody, whether they think they're income eligible or not, to reach out to Christy, and she'll be happy to walk them through the process.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is 12E. The City Council may adjourn into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, Sub 1, Sub E, Wisconsin statutes to deliberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, namely to discuss the possible sale of 1901 Gateway Boulevard. The council may reconvene into open session to possibly take action on the matter discussed in closed session.
Do we have a motion to go into closed session? Motion by
Second.
Davey, second by Duncan. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now in closed session.
I don't care. So was Dave Wilcox. We needed that sewer plant desperately. And he took a beating over that. And I remember that well. So do I. You do too.
Now back in open session, so next item, please.
So we have reconvened into open session to address item 12E.
Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President, if I could just clarify for the open session record, if you wouldn't mind? Yes. You have before you a Resolution 2021-163 that authorizes the approval of a purchase and sales agreement for the property at 1901 Gateway Boulevard, an agreement between the City of Beloit and Phoenix Acquisition, LLC. The city is going to be selling to that buyer 56.27 acres. The purchase price of that property is $10,000 per acre, or $562,700. They will be building a light industrial warehouse development of 500,000 square feet, expected within 1 year. There is a repurchase right for this city that if they don't begin construction within 6 months, the city does have the right to recover that property. Closing costs will generally be paid for by the buyer, but we will split some other unnecessary costs for closing. If anyone has any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them, but we would be looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2021-163.
Motion by Blakely, second by Duncan. Any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 13 is adjournment.
Motion by Levy, second by Keys. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now adjourned. Thanks, everybody.